So hey anime fans, the series name is What If Naruto Got Harem with Hotel Transylvania. So let's start the series. Hello, anime enthusiasts. What If Naruto Got a Harem with Hotel Transylvania is the title of the series. Let's begin the series now. Ow, Naruto said, rubbing his head and wondering where in the world he was. It seemed like he was in a forest by a lake under a full moon. Naruto, are you okay? Kurama. What happened? You don't remember. We had just won, but beating Kaguya caused the dimension we were in to collapse and flung us here. In frustration, one of Naruto's tails twitched. So where is here? Wait, tail. Naruto quickly hurried to the lake to examine himself after turning his head and noticing 9 fluffy orange tails with snow-white tips behind him. The 5'10" Naruto was wearing the same ragged orange jumpsuit in which he had been fighting Kaguya, but he had a few new features. His sky-blue eyes were now slitted, his orange fox ears protruded from his spiky blonde hair, his canines were more prominent, and did he mention that he had 9 tails? With the exception of Sasuke, Naruto prayed that everyone was okay back home. The battle had gone badly, and Sasuke had been severely wounded, so they hurried to seal Kaguya and destroy her illusion. Everyone is fine, Naruto, but without any time-space techniques we are stuck here. Time skip. For years, Naruto, who had always detested being short, had to buy new clothes to fit his new height. He was now 21 years old and, much to his delight, had reached an even 6 feet. He was dressed in a dark orange hoodie and black combat pants, and he had a few sealing scrolls in his cargo pockets, keeping everything sealed away. Given that he was now an immortal fox demon and that he and Kurama were stuck together forever, Naruto felt as though he had adapted to life in this new dimension rather well. Summoning didn't work, and since he was only an intermediate Fuinjutsuist, he didn't know any time-space jutsu that he could figure out to send him home, so he did the only sensible thing, which was to travel. Naruto had lost most of his extra affinities and his cloaked form, but he had gained some extras in return. He had gained the Mokuton Kekkei Genkai, enhanced senses, and the ability to finally cast illusions. While he could still enter Sage mode, it only gave him orange eyeliner and turned his slitted eyes gold. Naruto's physical abilities, including strength and speed, had also increased significantly due to his new demon status. He still had all of his cloak abilities and stats from when he and Kurama had fought Madara, but he didn't need to glow yellow to use them. Naruto used his ninja skills to create an ID and grow plants for sale while traveling. He had developed the Mokuton to the point where he could grow any plant he wanted and sold rare ones for a good profit to cover his expenses. He was extremely wealthy because really rare plants sold for tens of thousands of dollars per sapling. Naruto was a little disoriented as he strolled through a forest in what he believed to be Transylvania, but he wasn't concerned because he didn't have a definite destination. When Naruto smelled something burning, he turned to see a fire 10 miles into the forest. Being a sage, he hurried to put out the fire if it wasn't natural. A minute later, Naruto arrived and saw a town on fire, so he went to put it out. Naruto had gained a water and earth sub-affinity by obtaining the Mokuton, so he created a dozen clones and put them to work putting out the fire before it spread. He then noticed small flaming lights farther ahead and went to investigate. Naruto arrived to discover a group of people peacefully waking into a tunnel while on fire. He became perplexed and briefly entered Sage mode, unable to believe what he was feeling. Everyone in this world had life energy, but these individuals didn't even have chakra, they were like walking corpses. Naruto chose to follow them in order to learn more about what was happening. After they put out the fire, the clones explored the town and found that it was brand new, with all the buildings empty and hollow. It seemed that someone had gone to great lengths to create a fake town in the middle of nowhere, but why? Naruto was quietly following them when his clones dispelled and gave him some interesting news. Although it appeared at first that the town had been there for a while, there were no roads leading to or from that town. Following them for 20 minutes, Naruto saw a contemporary castle on a large hill for the first time. He shined to the top of the hill and chose to enter with the other creatures. Naruto shrugged, thinking he had seen something stranger. When Naruto entered what appeared to be a hotel lobby, he was astounded by the spacious, first-class building. He spotted someone approaching him at a high Jonin speed and ducked from a figure that resembled a conventional Dracula, complete with pale complexion and a cloak. Naruto assumed that the man believed Naruto was human, which was a bad thing. He could now simply remove his henge and tell them he wasn't human, but where was the fun in that? The man stood up, grabbed Naruto by the shoulders, and began asking him about the humans' invasion and the number of him. "It's just me, so what is this place?" asked Naruto in a naive tone. "We can't let anyone know a human found this place, we have to hide you somehow," Dracula said as he was about to take him outside before a swarm of visitors barged in and began to harass him. He fled with the human into a closet to conceal him. That gave Naruto an idea. "I got it, just give me a second," Naruto said, jumping behind some prop boxes, making some rustling noises, and dropping his henge. He would be a demon posing as a human at a hotel for monsters, and this prank was getting better and better. Naruto emerged from behind the boxes and began his dance, introducing the man of legend that wanders the land, the sage who makes even Mother Nature blush, the foxiest demon any woman has ever seen, the great fox sage, Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto finished his dance 1 foot with sakura petals falling out of nowhere and his tails dancing as if caught in a breeze. That was awesome, and the illusion petals were definitely a nice touch. Next time he needs some music, oh, and lighting. He had no idea what he was supposed to be, a fox creature of some kind, apparently, but his outfit doesn't seem all that horrible. As long as it deceived everyone until he could get him out discreetly, it didn't matter. Dracula seized Naruto and led him to the lobby door until a small man holding a mouse stopped them. Dracula became sidetracked by a meal mix-up, so Naruto took advantage of the situation to escape away. A pregnant werewolf stumbled and fell, but Naruto grabbed her easily as he made his way to the bottom of the stairs. "Are you alright, ma'am?" Naruto asked. "Thank you very much, young man," the werewolf said as he stood up to thank him. "Yeah, thanks a lot, you really saved us." When Naruto turned around, he saw a stunning young woman with shoulder-length black hair wearing a small black dress, red and black striped stockings, long black lace fingerless gloves, black lips, eyeshadow, and red Converse. However, something happened when their blue eyes met, and before he could think about it, the previous guy's cape blocked his view. "Honey, are you okay?" "Yeah, Dad, I'm fine. I was just thanking that guy behind you. Well, I need to borrow him for a minute." Blood orange, Dracula seized Naruto and used his powers to carry him upstairs. Naruto was astounded by how quickly this man could move. "While this is fun and all, why don't we introduce ourselves?" "I'm Dash," Naruto said, turning to face the other man. "I saw your ridiculous dance once already, Naruto. I am Dracula. The absence of music must be the reason why everyone disapproves of the dance." "Didn't you hear me?" "I am Dracula." Dracula observed him nodding to himself once again. He consistently received a response from that, Yeah, I heard you're a blood-sucking vampire, Naruto said, nodding as he was pulled from his plans. I don't suck blood, human blood is so fatty you never know where it's been, I drink near blood or blood beaters, you can't taste the difference, it made sense, Naruto said, nodding his head. So now what? He said, who would want to bite some stranger's neck and risk catching whatever they had? When another bat appeared and began conversing with Naruto, Dracula transformed into a bat and took hold of the back of his jacket, guiding him to the balcony. Now you leave this place and never tell anyone about it. I made this place as a safe haven for monsters so that they could come without fear of the humans, Dracula said. Where are you going, Dad? Knowing that he had missed the chance, Dracula flew back inside with Naruto and his daughter, and they both transformed back into humans. I was just giving our new party planner a tour of the castle, Dracula said. You, Mr. Control Freak, hired someone to help you? Yes, since this is such a special birthday I decided to hire someone around your age to help with ideas. This caused Mavis to flee. Wait, you're close to my age. I'm 118, do your parents get all up in your business too? I am a little younger and not really, considering I never had any, I am an orphan, then who raised you? Mavis asked, feeling guilty now. I did, Naruto said, smiling to let her know he wasn't angry. So you want to hang out and get to know each other? Mavis asked in an attempt to shift the conversation. Mavis, honey, if he is hanging out with you he won't be planning, Dracula said before Naruto could respond. Oh, okay, Mavis said, turning to face Naruto. Perhaps we could get together later if you have time. Sure, Naruto said with a smile. You won't be hanging out later because you are leaving now, Dracula said sharply to Naruto when Mavis left. He then unlocked a hidden passageway in the wall and gestured for Naruto to follow. Dracula breached a wall after 10 minutes of walking, revealing complete anarchy. Frankenstein, a werewolf, and a mummy were beating on zombies and flinging them into objects. The werewolf even had one in his mouth and was shaking him as some werewolf puppies assisted. Naruto had witnessed more bizarre. Naruto became gloomy all of a sudden. Had he seen something stranger? He led a peculiar existence, at least it's not boring, after saying, you're right, Kurama, at least I won't have a boring eternity, Naruto got back up and grinned. Dracula gazed at Naruto with disbelief, unable to predict what the human would do next. Perhaps he was unstable, but he set that thought aside for the time being and said, stay here and wait for me, before heading out to handle the most recent issue with his motel. Naruto was enjoying the show when Dracula's daughter appeared. He was very certain that Dracula had given her the name Mavis. Hi there, party planner. Hi Mavis, with a bewildered cock, Mavis asked, when did we introduce ourselves? You were the reason I was hired, of course I would know your name, Naruto said, giving her a deadpan expression. Naruto was a ninja, and they were experts in infiltration, so this type of thing was his specialty. She finally gets to chat to someone her own age, and she makes a fool of herself twice. So what are you supposed to be? Mavis blushed slightly in shame. Of course he knew who she was, that's why he was here. Hey, who's that? Was said by someone outside before Naruto could respond. Everyone, this is the party planner that Dad hired, his name is. Mavis said, pulling him out by the arm in front of everyone. She listened to him and gave him a supportive glance. I am the greatest traveler of this world and the next, the purveyor of awesome, the man who makes the ladies swoon with a swish of his tail, the immortal fox sage, Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto grinned as he began his introduction dance. This time, he ended his dance on one foot with an illusion of rose petals. The mother said, "Did he have background music?" "Did the lighting change?" the werewolf said. "You have more than one of these intros?" asked Dracula, who was the most surprised. Dracula's remark made everyone perspire. Naruto nodded to himself. The music and lights were definitely good additions, but he was lacking something. A stage would have allowed him to impress the audience. What could Naruto do without a summons? But Jiraiya had the toad summons. Kurama proposed, "You could have a clone henge into a fox." "Great idea, Kurama." "Yes, that might work, but how can we conceal the clone till it changes?" Mavis looked to her father and asked, "Is he okay?" as she waved her palm in front of Naruto's face, waking him from his mental brainstorm. "I don't know, honey bat, what were we talking about again?" Naruto asked, tilting his head in bewilderment. "Everyone has flaws. If you are the party planner, you are in charge of picking the band, right?" asked the unseen man once he had recovered first. "Of course, are you auditioning, Freckles?" Naruto smiled. "Of course we are," the werewolf replied. "Stop, can't you guys pick it up?" "Here, let me show you," Naruto said, taking the guitar from the mummy and beginning to play some rock for everyone as they played a sluggish song that nearly put him to sleep. "That was awesome," said Frankenstein as he seized Naruto after his bite. "I loved it. I am so blown away right now," exclaimed Mavis. Triple X. It wasn't until dinner by the pool that things really started to pick up. Naruto was sitting next to Mavis, who was wearing a black and red striped one-piece and orange and black swimming trunks, and he was roped into the festivities with everyone. At first, he thought it would be fun, but quiet bingo and charades in an auditorium put Naruto to sleep. He was sharing stories with her and the other people at the table about some of the locations he had seen over the previous 4 years. Murray the Mummy said, "It's unbelievable that you visited the Sistine Chapel. No monster has ever been there." Naruto sighed, "I am really good at blending in. Last time a human saw my real form was in Japan, and let me tell you, the mob was horrible." "Did they try to bite your toes and stick bread with garlic in your face too?" Mavis asked, leaning closer. "What? No, it was the oppo dash. Here, honey bun, your favorite, bagel with extra scream cheese," Dracula said as he delivered a bagel to his daughter, emphasizing the butt. She held up the bagel with real screaming cheese on it and said, "Thank you, Holly Raby's dad." "Naruto, you have to try some scream cheese." Taking a large mouthful off of it, Naruto thought, "What's a little cheese compared to eating bugs for sage training?" Naruto was pleasantly surprised to discover that it tasted tasty. "That really is awesome," he said. Dracula said, "You have to keep a low profile or people will get suspicious," as he seized Naruto and pulled him away. "The only thing that is suspicious is you whispering. Just go into the pool and pretend to hurt yourself so you can leave," Dracula said, glancing around at everyone who was gazing at them. Naruto raised his arms in protest. "No way, I will get chlorine on my tails. Chlorine messes up the glossy coat of my awesome tails. Fresh water is fine, but not chlorinated pools. In any case, they were dumb fakes." "Seriously? You're worried about messing up your tails?" The werewolf interrupted, "Hey, a young man has got to keep himself well groomed. See, Wayne gets it." This person was attempting to be patient, and Dracula's face was palmed in frustration. Mavis says, "Hey Naruto, want to go to my room? It would be pleasant to simply chat with someone who has traveled a lot." Perhaps he could show her how to blend in so that she can travel as well. Sure, Mavis. When Dracula heard that, he freaked out, saying, "No. Me and Naruto have some more party planning to do, over there." "What do you think you're doing? You are supposed to be making excuses and leaving. Enough of this. I will just tell everyone you finished your planning and left," Dracula said, his eyes glowing red. "You will forget having ever found this place, you will leave here and never return. Now go," he said. "What's up, Naruto? This seems like an odd place to plan a party. Wouldn't it be easier to plan a party in the castle?" asked Mavis as soon as Dracula left. Naruto turned around and left, having finished the Count's work. "Normally you would be right, but out here is a great place to plan certain parts," Naruto said with a smile as he turned to face Mavis. It seemed as though Naruto would benefit from such a weak mental technique nevertheless. "Like what?" "Wait and see, just a hint." "Nope, follow me." Naruto, who was usually the unpredictable one, was taken aback by the change. "Huh? Come on, Naruto, keep up," said Mavis, who wasn't waiting for him. XXX Mavis had guided Naruto to the castle's roof, where they spent the night discussing the world outside the forest. Neither Mavis nor Naruto had ever felt so comfortable or in tune with one another. Mavis had always longed for something more that had motivated her to travel, but that feeling was mysteriously missing from Naruto, while he felt free to be himself in a way he had never known before. Before they knew it, the night was over and the sun was beginning to rise. "The sunrises here must be amazing," Naruto said as he glanced at the sun that was just beginning to rise above the horizon. Mavis's toes began to smoke when the sunlight touched them, and she pulled her feet closer to her. "Oh, I guess you have never even seen a sunrise." "No, why?" "Come here, I have an idea," Naruto said, offering Mavis his hand after giving it some thought. As she saw her first sunrise, he backed her all the way behind a chimney on the roof, allowing her to concentrate on the slowly rising sun. Mavis was astounded that she could see something so lovely from her roof. "Kurama, what do you think?" Naruto asked Kurama about his other proposal. "It should work, I say go for it, Mavis." Mavis looked over at Naruto. "Do you trust me?" After a moment of hesitation, she said, "Yes, okay," Naruto said, becoming motionless and closing his eyes. The telltale symptoms of sage mode arose around his eyes. Mavis was shocked to see that Naruto's blue, slitted eyes had turned golden when he opened them. "What happened to your eyes?" she said. Taking her hand in his own, Naruto said, "Not important right now," and held it up to the sun. Mavis became a little alarmed and struggled, saying, "What are you doing?" "Sunlight burns vampires, trust me," Naruto said with a kind grin and a light squeeze of her palm. Mavis allowed Naruto to hold her hand in the sun and felt the warmth of the sun on her skin, but for some reason, it didn't burn. Instead, it felt pleasant and somewhat tingly. "How?" she asked, unable to believe it, as vampires typically burnt in the sun. "Didn't I introduce myself as a fox sage?" "Well, that sage part allows me to do things like this, but it only works while we are in contact and if I will it," Naruto said with a playful smirk, not wanting to give her the false impression that he had cured her. "Think of this as an early birthday gift, I will give you your real one later," he said. "There's more?" Mavis asked, her eyes widening. "Happy birthday, Mavis," Naruto said, turning back and leaving. "Of course, you only turn 18 once after all. I better finish organizing your party for tonight," he said. After falling through the roof into a sauna, Naruto landed in a crouch on all fours. Ha ha ha. That's what you get for trying to act all cool, shut up Kurama. Some ninja you are, a roof-hopping ninja falling through a roof, ha ha ha. The slight flush that Naruto experienced had nothing to do with being in a sauna. What are you doing here? When Naruto turned around, he noticed Dracula steaming. I am here to steam, he asked. When the Invisible Man asked, then why are you fully dressed? Naruto shot back, why are you the only guy without a towel? Murray said, well, why don't you join us? Murray was going to help his buddy dog. Okay, Naruto said as he went to the adjacent changing room, undressed, and wrapped a white towel around his waist before returning to the sauna. Naruto sat down in a corner and used some of his tails as a backrest. What? He said, noticing that they were staring at him. The unseen man replied, most monsters aren't cut like that, you have defined muscles that I didn't even know people had. As a training enthusiast, Naruto naturally had a body like this, and this, together with his unique form of immortality, preserved his body in top physical condition forever. Naruto glanced down at himself in bewilderment. He was all hard, compact muscle with not a bit of extra fat on him. In contrast, Dracula was genuinely angry with Naruto, but not for the reasons one might assume. He wasn't jealous of Naruto in any way, so why would he be? Since he was only a human, Mavis was the issue. He was aware that she liked him and that women preferred men with bodies similar to Naruto's. Additionally, Naruto had somehow managed to break his powers, so he needed to come up with another plan to get rid of him before the whole human in the hotel situation became even more complicated. The longer he stayed, the more likely it was that he would be found, which would ruin the hotel and his daughter. Naruto had enjoyed his time in the sauna, but not because of the heat because, as a fox demon, he could make fox fire, so heat and fire were no longer problems for him. He wished he had that ability when he dealt with Sasuke and his foolish fire techniques. Instead, it was enjoyable to steer the conversations toward subjects that made Dracula writhe uncomfortably, like Mavis, what it was like to be a traveling monster, and Mavis again. He even discovered that when he combined the two topics, Dracula nearly erupted with worry and rage. Dracula was irritated when Naruto was manually moving the tables one at a time in an attempt to get him out of the way because he had a schedule to adhere to. Just stay in the corner and stay out of my way, leaning against a wall, Naruto motioned to Dracula to proceed with one hand. Dracula began arranging the tables by number so they could go to different parts of the room. The tables had faces and would fly through the air. At least in fight, their agony would finally come to an end. Naruto counted the tables and climbed on one, and his ear twitched, giving him the pranking smile that many people have learned to fear more than his battle face. Table 9 up, he said, grinning. Additionally, 3 tables to his right rose, ha ha ha. Love the fact that even though you are probably the most powerful being in the world, you are still an idiot. How could you screw up counting? Hey, it's an honest mistake, it could happen to anybody, doubtful, whatever. 12 up, he said, and the person above him stood up. Sigh, now that just sad, oh yeah, what number is it then Mr. Know-It-All, Naruto said, his eyes and tails twitching in frustration. 13, the table he was on rose, 13 up, yeah right, show off, bask in the glory that is I. Naruto began to fiddle with the table, enjoying the notion that he could fly once more, even if it required a table. I for one am glad you can't fly anymore, you have enough trouble as is without adding another plane to screw up in, but imagine the pranking potentials. PSH, a true pranker wouldn't need it, whatever, he said, but he concurred with Kurama that one person could only contain so much fantastic, and that he and Kurama were at their maximum. Damn straight, come on Gramps, is your age getting to you? Naruto yelled as he sped past Dracula at full force, having mastered his table. Despite his amazement, Dracula felt compelled to accept Naruto's dare. "Oh, you are going to pay for that," he said. Dracula then used his own miniature army of flying tables to pursue Naruto around the room, but Naruto managed to outsmart him by flying upside down and defying gravity. "What's up, gravity face?" Dracula asked. Sticking to surfaces was a genin trick, and Naruto gave him a deadpan expression. "Lame," he said. Dracula chose to up the stakes by erecting a table barricade to obstruct his way. Naruto noticed that there was sufficient space to squeeze between the openings, but what fun was that? Before their high-speed table crashed, causing Dracula to tumble from the table and become tangled in the sheet that fell with him, Naruto leaped off his table and kicked one of the tables in his path out of formation and into Dracula's table on the other side. This caused Dracula and Naruto to be jettisoned out of the room and through the hallways on the same table as they wrestled amicably. "Haha, now that was fun," Dracula said with delight as he ripped the sheet off of himself. He then turned to check for Naruto, but he was nowhere to be found. "Suit." "Sir," a metal-armored suit said. "Where is Naruto?" "Quasimodo has him tied up and is taking him to the kitchens." "Stop him," he said, threatening to fry him, most likely into some dumb pie. Dracula received a sharp salute from the suit of armor. "Yes, sir." "Mavis, what are you doing awake?" "The sun is up and it could kill you," Dracula said, turning to run for the kitchens but was halted when he saw his daughter. "Oh Dad, have you seen Naruto?" Dracula looked in horror as his daughter blushed and tucked her hair behind her ear in embarrassment. "No, Sugar Bear, wait. Why do you want to know?" "No, Martha did the same thing when." "No. No reason, he had to be certain, even though he didn't want to accept it." "Blood orange, do you like him?" "Please answer no." "Of course not." Dracula let out a sigh of relief before Mavis went on. Mavis recalled how Naruto made her feel, like her first safe touch of sunlight on her first daybreak, yet on the inside, she shuddered but was warm at the same time. Was she becoming ill? I mean, is he completely dense, or does he not know that he's a dreamboat? She asked herself. If Dracula could have, he would have gone pallid. Fortunately, the embarrassing period was cut short by the suit. "Sir, they have made it to the kitchen. Gur, what do I pay you for?" Dracula ascended to the kitchens to handle the issue alone. "He doesn't pay me," the suit of armor said, turning to face Mavis. XXX in Quasimodo's kitchen, Naruto was enjoying himself while slowly spinning over the pointless flames. He was correct to give that foolish rat a false sense of human identity. "I have got to hand it to you, Naruto, your plan is coming along perfectly. Yep, proper setup is key. The more I build it up, the greater the unveiling will be." Dracula intervened and freed Naruto from the flames as he and Kurama were having a private conversation. "Sir Dracula, why are you protecting this human?" "Don't be ridiculous, he isn't a human, he is a fox monster, demon fox sage," Naruto corrected. "Whatever, anyway he isn't a human, if he is a monster then let him scare Esmeralda," Quasimodo said, not persuaded. "The rat?" PSH, without a doubt, A rat should be frightened by humans as well. The rat was so frightened that it instantly passed unconscious while standing on the crate it was on. However, Dracula and Quasimodo were unaware of this since Naruto solely directed his killing intent at the rodent. Naruto briefly locked eyes with the rat and then released a sliver of killing intent at the animal. Through Naruto's eyes, Kurama observed that the bothersome rat had been salivating at the thought of consuming them, which was intolerable. "That should show the vermin who its betters are," Kurama said. Naruto concurred with Kurama, saying he might as well boil it rather than let some dim-witted rat think it was superior to them. "Yes, over very spit that hunchbacked fool thought he could cook us with his puny flames, after the big reveal, what's that?" Did they genuinely believe they could attempt to cook and consume him without receiving payment? Besides, he cooks, not eaten. Let's see how he likes it when we cook his precious pet in front of him. "Any seasoning suggestions?" he asked. He was a laid-back man, but nobody is that laid-back. "I suggest a teriyaki glaze, after a good tenderizing of course." Quasimodo interpreted the quiet as evidence of Naruto's failure and human rank. There was only one thing to say to everyone. Quasimodo was literally leaping off the walls and banging pots to create as much commotion as he could. Human. Count Dracula brought a human into the castle. Dracula was unable to permit that and froze Quasimodo, causing him to collapse to the ground in terror. This slime was a traitor, and after everything Dracula had done for him and other monsters, this was how he paid him back. If Naruto had been upset before, he was enraged now. Those who disobey the rules are garbage, but those who desert their fellows are even worse. Even Kurama expressed horror, saying, "I don't want to eat his filthy rat anymore. No, I say we still go through with it, but make him eat his own filthy rat." Dracula's hand on Naruto's shoulder startled him out of his reverie. "Come with me, there is something you should see." How cliched. Naruto was shown to a dimly lit room with thick curtains and a coffin leaning against a wall. "It is probably useful for blocking sunlight while he sleeps and is padded, still seems stuffy. You think Mavis has one?" "Doubtful, it would just be as easy and more comfortable to use heavy drapes. He probably does it out of habit, like how you still trap your campsites and use clones as lookouts. You have never complained about it before. Just because I doubt there is anything powerful enough to even hurt us anymore doesn't mean I am going to make you break good habits. My point is you do it out of habit and training rather than fear of being attacked anymore." Kurama was right. Despite having the ability to quickly create hand-sized Bijudama and throw or fire them like a laser beam, Naruto kept his kunai hidden on him. Naruto looked up to see Dracula studying a painting of a woman, and he was positive he had seen the painting before. "That castle in Europe, that would be the lady whose family died in that fire. I remember now, there was this castle in Europe that this lonely count lived in. Then he meets this lady," Naruto points to the artwork, "and they fall in love and have a baby. Then there is something about a mysterious fire and they all die." It was a really depressing story. With glowing eyes, Dracula turned to Naruto and told him the truth about how the humans attacked them. "That is why you cannot be here. You are a good human but still a human. You can stay for the party so you don't ruin Mavis' birthday, but after, you must leave," he said, pulling off the sheet that covered most of the painting to reveal a happy Dracula standing with the woman. "Only the wife died, and it is no mystery how the fire started. It was started by your kind. I can't stay because I'm human." "Fine, I will stay for the party as Mavis' friend, but afterwards I am gone. I don't want to be in a place where I am discriminated against because of my race." "Mavis' friend? Man, you are dense. Even the overgrown bat here sees it." "Sees what?" Before Naruto caused him a headache, Kurama said, "Figure it out yourself," disconnected the mental connection, and went to sleep. He is unable to see not only her sentiments but also his own. It's not that, Naruto, I have nothing against you, but you must understand that I have duty to protect my daughter and the other monsters from the humans. He was well received as a nine-tailed fox, but he didn't want the attention. Dracula, the world has changed from what you remember, you should give the world a chance, said Naruto, who could understand his perspective, but the mob he had to flee from in Japan were fangirls. Both Kurama and Naruto shivered. Can you promise me that if we came out every human would accept us? Everyone? No, but no one can guarantee that, but you can't hide behind these walls forever just because of what some humans might do. Before departing the once gloomy room in laughing, Dracula and Naruto chatted for a while and made some of Dracula's friends. XXX Naruto was enjoying himself at the party, his prior negative attitude had long since faded. Besides, how could he remain angry after pulling such a big prank? Naruto. When Naruto turned to face Mavis, he noticed that she was wearing a new waist-length cape. "Hi Mavis, enjoying your party?" he asked. She had been anticipating her surprise all day. "Absolutely, this is the best party ever, so what is my present?" she asked. "This morning I gave you a taste of the world of light and now I give you a glimpse of the world beyond these castle walls." Naruto grinned and pointed behind Mavis. Mavis turned to see incredibly detailed pictures of Paris and Hawaii, among other places in the world. The other monsters were astounded by the photos. Was the lame speech really necessary? "Yes, you suck at intelligent speeches, I thought it was lame, only you would," Mavis would erupt. "Naruto, let's dance," unless she found a method to communicate her feelings. The music appeared to stop as Mavis and Naruto danced until their eyes locked. Mavis leaned in and kissed Naruto slowly. "Get it now?" Dracula became enraged and confronted Naruto after someone brought this to his attention. "How could you?" he asked. "Relax Dad, it was just a kiss," Mavis said, perplexed by her father's response. "No, you are not allowed to kiss, Dad, I am allowed to do things, I am not 83 anymore, I am allowed to like someone or go see the world." Unbelievably, Dracula exclaimed, "What?" "You saw it," grabbing Mavis' arms for emphasis. "You said you didn't like it," he added. "Maybe I can give the village another chance, just blend in and be like Naruto does," Mavis said, as Dracula released her arms. "No, you can't go to the village, why not? Naruto says to be yourself, we can show them that we can be friends." "No, that isn't possible." "It could, it is all in how you present yourself, it won't make a difference," he said as his ambitions came to an end. Why not?" After reaching his breaking point, Dracula uttered the words, "Because that village doesn't really exist." The music abruptly stopped, and everyone turned to look at Dracula. "What do you mean it doesn't exist?" Mavis inquired in a cautious and low voice as she didn't understand. Reluctantly, Dracula described how he constructed the town and used undead to play the residents. When Mavis drifted away from her father, "Please understand that if you really went out there and something happened to you, I wouldn't be able to live with myself, then again, but you can put up with this? Telling me lies? Are you playing tricks on me? You know it was my dream to leave, so why keep me here forever?" When Quasimodo appeared, rolled in a wheelbarrow, still frozen, and now with a finger in his nose, Dracula's face fell and he opened his mouth to respond. He attempted to speak, but no one could understand him because of his frozen state, until a human fly who claimed to speak Frozen offered to translate. He says Dracula has brought a human into the castle, everyone said, startled by the prospect. He says there is Z human, he has a French accent, the fly said, pointing at Naruto. Naruto isn't a human, he is a fox monster, Frankenstein said, freezing Quasimodo's face. He's lying, Frankenstein said. What if he wasn't? As Naruto crossed his arms and said that, everyone turned to look at him. Is it true? A frightened creature in the crowd asked. I am not denying it, said Naruto in response. But you're not saying it's true either. Naruto turned to see Mavis staring at him as the monsters began to freak out after taking his statement as an admission. Mavis approached him directly and inquired, so you're a human? After a moment of staring into his eyes, she wrapped her arms around him and said, I don't care, I still want to be with you. Seems like you have got yourself a keeper, yeah, said Naruto, wrapping his arms around her in a tender embrace and meeting Dracula's gaze. His message was unmistakable, the next move is yours. Dracula had to decide whether to drain all of Naruto's blood or do something worse, but he realized what he had to do after seeing Naruto and Mavis together. Monsters, please listen to me. Yes, Naruto is a human, but is he truly a bad one? All the monsters asked as they turned to face him. To be honest, I'm not sure if people are still evil. Hey, it was fun hanging out with the guy, the werewolf concurred. He told awesome stories, Frankenstein said as he peered about. Naruto is the life of the party, and the best party planner I have ever met, the mother, sporting a Pharos headpiece, continued. While some other monsters concurred, the most remained terrified. I don't think it really matters what race you are, I have been all over the world and have seen many things, and I have learned that people are just people everywhere you go, whether they are human or not, Naruto said, stepping back from Mavis and winking at her as he saw the opportunity. After throwing a few smoke bombs, the lighting changed, kabuki music began to play, and actual sakura petals began to fall from the ceiling. A closed traditional red Japanese umbrella emerged from the smoke, then opened to reveal a nine-tailed fox design. The smoke was swept away, revealing Naruto still in his monster form, but with gold eyes and orange eyeliner, standing on the back of a 10-foot orange fox that was crouched. Naruto started his introduction dance with his umbrella and his hinged clone stage. I am Naruto Uzumaki, the fox with 9 tails, the sage with a foxy smile, the valiant and attractive demon fox sage, the immortal ninja traveler from a distant region. As Naruto concluded, blue-white fox fire ignited the falling sakura petals. Build-up check, props check, cool dialogue check, lights check, sound check, effects check, being awesome double check, seeing the looks on people's faces after I do my intro, priceless, the fire at the end was a nice touch, thanks Kurama, a perfect intro, Erosenin would be proud, confused, Dracula said, are you a monster? Then why didn't you just say so, and what was up with your human appearance? First, I am a 9-tailed fox, so illusions, Naruto said, nodding his head. Secondly, it was more enjoyable this way. Besides, why should it matter if I am a monster or a human? Lastly, you assumed I was human, and I didn't feel like correcting you. I have always introduced myself as a fox and never claimed to be human. Dracula and everyone else considered it. He had always claimed to be a fox and never really claimed to be a human. You tricked us, Dracula said, furious that he had jeopardized his hotel for nothing. Naruto sighed, you deserved it, you guys needed a wake-up call, hiding all the time is not living. The human world doesn't even hate monsters anymore. I usually disguise myself as a human just to avoid the attention. Naruto and Kurama shuddered. Evil fangirls. They are the true demons. Kurama and Naruto shuddered once more as they said, I think that's why Sasuke really left the village and was all emo. If you are nice to the fangirls, they swarm over you. It's better to seem distant and chilly when you come across a fangirl in the wild, since they will charge. A fangirl's scream warns and draws other fangirls nearby, so don't startle one. Naruto. There isn't a fangirl present, thus there's no need to review how to handle fangirl situations at this time. As Naruto emerged from his daze, he said, Thanks Kurama. The celebration resumed as usual after Naruto's great reveal, which wasn't really a reveal, but the following night, Naruto and Mavis set out on their global journey with Dracula's approval, albeit a rather grudging and tearful one. Where did Naruto and Mavis want to go first on their world tour? It doesn't matter as long as they went together. Underscore 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 underscore